Hello, and welcome. I'm Sheila Balgobin, known as the Dream Decipherer, and this is Dream Your Life, Live Your Dream Live, where we talk about all things dreams. Now, dreams aren't always sweetness and light. Sometimes they can take a dark turn or a difficult turn. And today we're going to look at that. So why do we actually have nightmares? Now, the jury is out. There's no consensus with regard to why we have nightmares. It could be a part of our brain's night activity where it's consolidating memory, and it could be that this emotional response that we have to nightmares may be the result of the outworking of fear and trauma that we may have experienced during waking hours. Now, in my experience working with clients, and we go over nightmares together, by the time we finish looking at it, they'll say, "Is that it? Is that all? You mean I was all upset about this?" And my experience has been is that with nightmares, it's usually an unacknowledged or unknown concern or fear or anxiety that gets brought up during the nighttime hours, so that once you break down the components of the nightmare and look at exactly what is going on, it usually calms the mind down, and the nightmares actually can go away. There are more stubborn cases, of course, as in the case of post-traumatic stress disorder, which can trigger nightmares. And psychologically, what's happening there is that the psyche is trying to heal itself of a trauma. And the dreams or nightmares in this case are the outworkings, if you will, of the psyche trying to get itself together and heal. So there are various reasons that we could impute to why we have nightmares, but what causes them? I mean, maybe the better question to ask. And there are different factors that can trigger nightmares. Some of them include stress and anxiety, which I just mentioned. If people are stressed about something, it may, particularly if they're not consciously acknowledging the fact that they're feeling stress and anxiety around something, it will turn up in a dream, and usually in an exaggerated form as a nightmare. So sad or traumatic events can provoke nightmares. I think of people when I was doing bereavement counseling, that a lot of people would dream about their departed ones, or some aspect of that relationship. So again, it's the psyche's way of trying to heal itself. Mental health conditions of various kinds can increase the possibility of having nightmares. I just mentioned PTSD, or post-traumatic stress disorder, but excuse me, depression, anxiety, things like bipolar disorder and schizophrenia can also provoke nightmares. Certain drugs and medications, I mean, drugs being legal or illegal, alcohol, and prescription drugs can affect the nervous system in such a way that nightmares occur, or even the contrary scenario where people are withdrawing from certain medications, and that causes a disturbance in REM sleep, which can cause nightmares. Not getting enough sleep deprivation, can trigger nightmares. It triggers what's called a REM or REM sleep rebound, and that can trigger vivid dreams and nightmares. There also seems to be a link where nightmares can actually run in families. There may be a genetic predisposition to having nightmares. And this is predicated by, there may be a family history of mental illness that can be tied to nightmares. there seems to be some evidence involved that there is people who suffer with nightmares have an altered, what they call an altered sleep architecture. And this means that they don't progress normally through the sleep stages, because the sleep cycle goes through various stages where you're going into deeper and deeper levels of sleep. And if for some reason that pattern is disturbed, it could be the blue light from your phones or your tablets and your TVs and what have you. It could be other things that are disturbing that normal sleep cycle that can provoke nightmares as well. Now, the one question that people may ask is, well, are nightmares connected to what we're doing during the day? And yes, there can be a clear connection to nightmares with what has been happening during daylight hours, particularly when stress is involved, stress and anxiety, such as PTSD, which can strike day or night. So if their trauma is not being addressed adequately during the day, it can trigger nightmares as the psyche is trying to offload the stress. Now, the obvious question, or the obvious answer rather, to the question, can nightmares impact sleep? Of course it can. You have a nightmare and you wake up, your heart's pounding, you're sweating, you're maybe crying, you may be screaming. Of course it's going to, nightmares are going to have a significant impact on a person's sleep. People may wake up feeling anxious, which makes it difficult for them to fall back asleep. And as a result, even the fear of having a nightmare may cause people to avoid sleep. So it sets up a vicious cycle with regard to, I don't want to sleep because I'm going to have a nightmare, but I'm so tired, I have to sleep, and I have a nightmare. So it can actually make things worse, avoiding sleep. Now, the nightmares can also not only be a result of mental health conditions, but can actually worsen the condition, whatever it may be. And having less sleep on top of that is only going to make that vicious cycle even more difficult to break. Now, if you have an occasional nightmare, that is normal. As I said, it's the outworking of stress and anxiety that may not be acknowledged during the day. But if you're having recurring nightmares on a regular basis, you should see a health specialist, your doctor, or someone who specializes in working with people around sleep. There could be, yes, it could be medication that's causing the problem. It could be even the other things like heart disease, particularly in postmenopausal women, sleep apnea, where you stop breathing briefly during the night. There could be a physical condition that is driving these nightmares. So if you're having nightmares more than once a week, or it's impacting your ability to function, your ability to sleep, as well as your mood and your ability to function, or you've started a new medication and perhaps, there's a whole family of ducks passing by. A whole family of teenagers and mom and dad. If there is, if you've perhaps started a new medication, the medication could actually be what's triggering the nightmare. So you need to, if you're having frequent nightmares, it really is a good idea to get in contact with your doctor to discuss it. Now, if extreme cases of having nightmares, again, on a regular basis, it's considered a nightmare disorder. And how can you treat that? Well, there are various means to be able to treat nightmares or treat sleep disorders, and more generally. Among those things are counseling, psychotherapy, particularly with someone who works with dreams like I do, because the dreams contain, not only pose the problem that is appeared in a person's life, but it can also suggest the solution. So having counseling, particularly with somebody who works with dreams, can be very, very helpful in that sense. Something called image rehearsal therapy, which involves rewriting a recurring nightmare, and just basically flipping the script, and rehearsed during the day when the person is awake, in order to impress upon the mind what you choose to have happen once you go to sleep in the dream. Lucid dreaming therapy. Lucid dreaming is when you're aware you're asleep. And again, like image rehearsal therapy, it's about being able to re-enter the dream and change the script, flip the script. You give it, you're the director of the movie of your life, and you get to change what you don't like. Now, there are other therapies as well, like exposure and desensitization therapies, because there is a number of fears, perhaps, or anxieties attached to nightmares. Becoming desensitized and exposed to those fears and anxieties when awake can reduce the reaction, perhaps, that people may have during the night. These are all suggestions, and some things may work better for some people than for others. You have to go with what resonates best for you. There's also hypnosis, creating a relaxed, almost trance-like state in which a person can have more positive thoughts and inputs into the mind, suggested to the mind to combat the stress and anxiety that nightmares may provoke. And something very simple is that, they tell people in order to be able to relax, to tense up all of the muscles, and then relax them. And progressive muscle relaxation is a technique that can be used very simply. We're tensing different parts of the body, working the way up the body or down, as the case may be, tensing and then relaxing. It's a good way to reduce stress. So, those are some of the less physically impacting therapies that can be done, or things that can be done. Medication is much more aggressive, I think, in that sense. And medication, again, it's six of one and half a dozen of another. It may work well for some people, but not for others. And it's important to get with your healthcare professional, a doctor or nurse or someone, or a mental health specialist who can describe the potential benefits and downsides of various medications that can be used to treat nightmare disorders. But it's not all doom and gloom. There are things that you can do that can help to stop nightmares and get better sleep. Now, these are things that I've mentioned before, but doesn't hurt to mention them again. They're having a good sleep hygiene, a good sleep routine is essential, not only for good sleep in general, but may help to reduce the incidence of nightmares. So following a consistent sleep schedule to train the brain to start to ratchet things down and relax in preparation for sleep is always a good idea, so that the body and the brain know to start to relax in preparation for sleep. Utilizing various relaxation methods, finding ways to wind down and relax, whether it be breath work, it could be any number of things, quietly reading, something pleasant, of course. If you're going to read Stephen King horror stories, you're not going to have the effect that you would like. Caffeine and alcohol. People have a tendency to think, oh, I'll have a drink and it'll help me to relax. Actually, it's a stimulant. Despite the initial effect, it may help you to relax in the short run, but it stimulates the nervous system, and which can trigger nightmares. Caffeine, the same thing. Drinking coffee or any caffeinated drink after, say, 3 in the afternoon, it takes 24 hours for that caffeine to be metabolized by the body. So if you're having several cups of coffee up until the time you go to bed, not only are you going to be wide awake, but it could possibly trigger nightmares. And this one, I know people aren't going to be happy about it, but reducing your screen time, whether it be a screen like this on the phone or your TV or tablet or whatever the case may be. Binging on Netflix is not the way to to relax, believe it or not. It actually ramps up the brain activity, and the blue light from these devices can also disturb the production of melatonin and serotonin, which are very important sleep hormones, which is why so many people are taking melatonin these days, because we turn night into day. There's no real rest period anymore, where people clearly go to bed at a certain time. And lastly, just creating a comfortable environment to sleep in. Is the room too hot? It's preferable to have the room a bit cooler and to wear socks or to put a light blanket over you rather than to have the room too hot, because that will not only make you sleep less comfortably, but that discomfort can also translate into a nightmare. Take out all of the Wi-Fi. I don't know how many clients that I've told who've been suffering with poor sleep for years, and I tell them, take all the Wi-Fi out of the room, all the tablets, the phones, the baby monitors, everything, and keep them as far away from the bedroom as possible. And from the first night, they sleep like babies. So, ditch the electronics. It's not doing you any good to have it inside the room with you. The only thing that should be heating up inside your bedroom is you and your partner. Having all of that other stuff is detrimental to good sleep. So there you have it, why we have nightmares, and some reasons what can provoke nightmares, as well as what you can do to improve your ability to avoid nightmares or to get over nightmares. And if you'd like some sleep tips or help with a dream, you can always get in contact with me. My details are in my profile, and you can have a free initial consultation to get sleep tips or to get help with a dream. Thank you so much for watching and listening. Have a great day and rest of the weekend, and I'll see you again soon. Take care. Bye-bye.